Good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's live webcast. I'm Dean Seddon, founder of Maverick, and I have the illustrious, industrious, adventurous Vasco Botello with me tonight. So if you're joining us on LinkedIn, do say hello in the chat, and we can kind of interact back through chat and conversation. Vasco, we are going to talk about getting leads weekly from LinkedIn.
No, first I'm going to talk about I didn't bring my break. So he stands taller than I am. He always does this to me.
Hello, everybody. No.
Yeah.
So what we're going to talk about tonight is basically getting leads weekly from LinkedIn.
Yep.
So everybody's coming here because they want to do something practical. They want to take something away to do. So that's number one, our job. We've got to give something practical that people can go and try. Hi, Terry. It's the big V. Hi, Kelly in Calgary. And I can see Jack saying hello there. Hi, Jack. So we'll just give it a couple of minutes just whilst everybody gets in, the notifications on LinkedIn and YouTube and all those other places kick in.
And do tell us where you're from. We'd love
absolutely.
to hear you.
We're going to try and do a bit of practical and a bit of theory, so something you can take away and something that you can think about how you improve your game over the long term. Hi, Alex. So yeah, I can see people jumping in now. Their notifications are pinging off. So if you haven't joined one of us before, here's Kelly from Northern Ireland. Awesome. So if you've not joined one of these before, they're very casual, they're very interactive, so you can ask questions as we go and we'll answer them. It's a hybrid between a podcast and a webinar, really.
That's true.
So we have notes to talk about, we have things we want to show you to help you, but actually we want it interactive. So hi, Alex Roska.
And the great thing is that you can ask any question you want. Feel free to
about
do that.
LinkedIn.
About LinkedIn. And don't you worry, there are no stupid questions. There are just stupid answers. Me and Dean will be giving those.
The only stupid question right now is what's LinkedIn?
Oh, it's true.
Hi, Sophie. Hi, Scott. Who else we got? Hi, Karuna. And Mr. Terry Heath is there in the chat. So just as we get started, we have a lot to get through tonight and we may not touch on everything we want to hit. So we've written a guide which kind of documents some of the stuff we're going to talk about and expands on it. And I'm going to put it on screen. You can go get a copy of it. So if you want a copy of this, we'll just take the thing off. It's free. You don't need to pay for it. You don't need to buy it. We've basically documented it because I know some people will watch this and go, what was that again? And then you will have this weird thing that you'll go, do you know what? I'll rewatch that.
Yeah.
And we have this thing, we'll rewatch things and then we kind of never do. So if you want a full copy of what we're going to do, obviously expanded on and more detailed, please do drop us a message and we'll send this through to you. So yeah, totally free. You can have it. Just email us, the team. It probably won't be tonight. We send it. It'll be tomorrow, but the team will send it to you. So just as we kind of get going, because there's a lot of new people joining us on different channels tonight. If you don't know about us and Maverick, we've been teaching companies, people, individuals, coaches, enterprise levels companies, sales teams, marketers, pretty much everybody.
Yep. And
how to get the most of LinkedIn as a social channel organically. So we're not going to touch ads tonight. It's all about how do I get leads weekly from things I can do on my profile.
And we're going to help you deliver.
Yeah.
Basically, that's what we're going to do.
So do find me and Vasco on LinkedIn. Come find us, connect with us. And if you get value from this, go follow, connect, hit the bell, all that wonderful stuff. So there's three things I want to kind of give you practical, but just before we get into the practical bit, I just want to explain a couple of different ways that people can approach LinkedIn. So I'm sure you've seen in your inboxes, you will get random messages, generic messages from people all the time. That is probably what we call the most basic way of using LinkedIn, which is the pitching, cold pitching. Hi, Andrada. Hi, Claire. Hi, Kelly. Hi, Anu. Hi, Emma. Hi, Tondera. Hi, Juan. and Ryan. So awesome. Scotland. Ryan, you might have I feel a little bit nervous here. Anybody from the UK will notice this. That literally a few minutes ago, all the kind of news went wild that we might not have a prime minister or a government by the time we finish this. But that's life, isn't it? So there's a couple of different levels of how you approach LinkedIn, and it's really important, well, social media generally, it's really important you define how you want to get to success on social media. So if you've got a notepad and pen, obviously you can get the free PDF and this is all in it, but if you've got a notepad and pen, just note down there's 5 levels. There's the cold pitcher, there's the social seller, there's the expert, there's the leader, and there's the influencer. Now, hi Billy, hi Bala, hi, it's Ryan. So there is 5 levels: cold pitcher, social seller, expert, the leader, and the influencer. Now, why am I telling you all this? Why does this even matter? Well, on social media, it does matter because you need to choose a strategy. You need to choose an approach, because what a lot of people do on LinkedIn is they chase the next hack or the next tactic or the next secret. Actually, you just need to follow a system. So if you are a cold pitcher, you might not realize I'm going to say this, and that's how you want to do it, keep doing it. But I know a lot of people will say, do you know what? I'm doing it because it's a necessity, but I'd rather have a better way. So the cold pitcher is based on churning volumes. Yeah, so outreach messages and playing numbers. If I send enough outreach, I'll get a bite. The social seller is kind of one step above, where they're developing relationships. So they will be working on people and being very relational in their approach. And I teach that, I encourage business to do that. It's great for salespeople to do that. It's great for business development people to do that. And it can be great for small business owners. If you're, a small group, a small business, you only need 1 or 2 clients a month, you can do that as a social seller, but it requires ongoing effort. Now, the shift from social seller is where you start to go to the expert, the leader, and the influencer. So the expert is not about masses and masses of followers. It's about the way you approach LinkedIn. It's about the way you approach your strategy. And the only way I can describe it to you briefly is it's shifting from an individual trying to make sales to almost a mini media company. Yeah, where you are a producer of content, and Vasco's going to talk about content because he's a superstar at getting big chunky posts out there and messages out there. So it's about shifting the way you approach LinkedIn to actually, this is who I am, this is what I do, and actually my content is going to do the heavy lifting. So we'll speak a little bit about that. The leader tries to do what the expert does, but with bigger volume. And then the influencer is a shift again, and the influencer is actually I can get people to move en masse because of my network size and my influence on the platform. So where people go wrong is they pick the wrong strategy for where they're at right now. So most people in about 3 to 6 months can get to that expert position if they do the right things. If you are wanting the expert but continue doing the cold pitching without investing in building the content bit, you're actually never going to get there. So
the problem is the cold pitchers want to be influencers.
Yes.
And what they do is they take the way they do cold pitching to try and become an influencer.
Yeah.
And this is where everything flops.
Yeah. So when we think about it, let's just strip away the social seller a minute. And if anybody wants our social selling methodology, download the PDF. I'll put it on screen because some new people have joined. Download the PDF, and it's got a breakdown of how you approach the social seller piece in there as well. So we don't really touch on the cold pitching side. I can tell you messaging strategies and stuff like that, but it's not the best method. But if you're a salesperson, you've got numbers to hit and you've got to do something by the end of the month, you can do it now. That's the allure of cold pitching. So that expert really marks a change in the way you approach it, where the content starts to do the work for you. The content becomes the pre-selling of you so that people will engage. So you try and leverage as much as you can content. So I'll give you an example today. I've messaged a couple of people today where they've been engaging with my content, they've been interacting with me, they've been to a few of our events, they've been to a few of these, and I said, hey, I'd love to show you what we're up to. Yeah, cool. Really low key. So the first thing I want to do, let's just get some practical things here, and I'm going to let Vasco dip in on this, is if you want to kind of step away from the cold pitching, the reality is that 62% of all of the LinkedIn user base will vet you and assess you and judge you by, believe it or not, they will judge you by the way your profile looks. Now, I'm not going to teach you to suck eggs with your profile, but there is this kind of sweet spot of you don't want to be too brash and you don't want to be too understated. You've got to be confident. And as I've said in previous sessions, there's a real simple thing you can do with your headline to generate interest.
Yep.
Vasco?
Well, I like to go slightly back as well.
All right, okay.
Which is, for example, your photo, the way you present yourself is very, very important because people will vet you by what they see. So, you all of a sudden have become the shop front window of your business, of your name, of your brand.
Can I just say, it took me a long time to smile like that.
Yeah.
I find it really hard to smile. Some people say I have resting bee face, and I think it's true.
Ah, come on.
But no, profile aside, because I don't want to kind of suck up time on the profile itself, you've got to tell people in that headline what you do and the value you bring quickly.
Yeah, but the thing is, first of all, people will see your face. So it's just three things and quick things. Be friendly, be approachable, and be smiley and professional looking. So if you've got that professional looking, approachable, reachable, that is very, very important. On the headline, you should say to people, what can you do for them? It's, you're not looking for a job. So what you put in there doesn't matter in terms of you're looking for a job, like I'm the best this, I'm the best that. What you should be putting there is what you, as a professional, can do for your prospect. So that when I see your photo and then I see your name and I see your headline, I say, this is the person I want to talk to. So having the correct, so for example, sales. No one wakes up in the morning saying, I want to connect to a salesperson. No one does. Okay? So having sales there is a killer. Mm-hmm. Say there, because, and basically it's because people will say, sooner or later, this person is going to send me a sales message.
And in fact, we've seen this, we've proven this, that if you have a sales-related title in your headline, your connection acceptance rate is lower.
Oh, it just goes.
Yeah.
No, because you see then the request and you go, sales, and you go, no, not this one.
So Vasco, one simple tip that people can use on using their profile to get inbound inquiries.
Okay, so one could be, you can't bring it up, can you?
Yeah, it's up.
One could be saying, for example, are you going to bring India up?
Yeah.
So we got a colleague of ours, her name is India, there you go.
She's actually on maternity leave, but she comes back in September.
And she says there, let's quit cold calling and get more meetings. She says what she can do for you. And you guys that are there, that are doing cold calling would say, hang on, I need to talk to her.
But who's India's target audience?
Well, India's target audience is people that do cold calling and don't like to do cold calling. So people that don't like doing cold calling and do cold calling, she's talking to you.
So walk us through the strategy, what somebody needs to do to get leads with their LinkedIn headline, step by step.
What do you mean by that?
Tell people exactly what they need to do.
Well, basically you just have to go onto your headline, change your headline to something that's catchy and tells you what you can do for the person. And this goes practically to the basics, which is you need to talk to the pain.
So it is, if you want to Google this, it's called the Gaddy pitch. So the Gaddy pitch is, who's my target audience and what's their biggest problem?
The biggest pain.
Yeah, the biggest problem. So the simple one is, and I've seen some people using it. I did a blog about this the last few days, last week I think it was. You know how target audience has this problem. What we do is, and the result. So if you can include target audience, problem, results in your headline, what do you do next with it? Once you've done that, you've built that headline, what do you do now?
Now you go a number of things. You start connecting to the right people, the people you want to talk to, people that you think fit the criteria. Secondly, you start going to these people's or these persons' profiles and liking and commenting on their posts.
And what kind of comment? Great post, thanks for sharing?
Not at all. Now, when you do a comment, you have to do a comment that shows that you know and care about this person. Remember, LinkedIn's all about relationships. So you have to create that relationship. So when you comment, you have to show people that you liked what the person has written, that you understood what the person has written, and you're saying something meaningful to that person.
Yeah.
The other important thing, and this has changed in the last couple of weeks, is that in the past, people used to get pinged when you liked and commented. Now that doesn't happen. So you have to tag the person.
Mention them. Yeah.
Mention him. So when you mention the person, tag the person, do the @sign, he gets a message from LinkedIn saying, Dean Vasco has commented on your post. And like any human being, you go, wow, what the hell did he say?
Yeah. So what you've got is you end up with comments, and you have to do this 2 or 3 times to the same people, but you start to engage on their posts. And what happens is in the comment, because you've tagged them, they get notified. They come to the comment, you give a meaningful comment, and it shows your face, exactly as you said, your name, and let's quit cold calling and get more meetings. So if you're targeting with your Gaddy pitch, remember, target audience, problem, result, and you start to engage in that way, they'll start to respond, they'll start to see your posts, but more importantly, you'll get people inbound messaging you. And it might only be, let's say you were spending 10, 15, 20 minutes a day doing this, you'll probably get one person a day. One person a day, real simple.
Funny enough, today I was training a company that's a call center company. And one of the things they're going to put in their titles is, do you want to manage people or numbers? And this is, and if anybody out there deals with call centers knows this, the worst thing that can happen to you is manage people. So you want to manage results, you want to manage numbers. So they're putting there straight away that people that got this pain will go, I need to talk to these guys.
Yeah. And 1 or 2 people a day, if you're doing that for 20 minutes with that headline and you're doing it over a consistent basis, you'll pick up 1, maybe 2 people per day, which for a lot of people will be a result. And particularly if you don't want a cold pitch, it's really easy to do.
But then we should look at...
yesterday, you did a training session with somebody about soft ways to generate leads. She did one in the first hit.
Well, and she did 10 and got 10 answers back, which is amazing. But the thing is, if you get 2 per day, if you do the maths, that's 5 per week.
10 per week.
Sorry, 10 per week. That's my maths.
How old are you again, Vasco? How old are you?
That's the problem. I forget the numbers. 10 per week, that's 40 per month.
Yeah.
And, you know, we got...
And let's say conservatively, you could get to a 10 or 15% conversion rate.
Yeah.
That's 6 or 7 new clients a month.
Which, you know, that is, in some cases, that could be your sales pipeline for that month.
Yeah.
Or even 2 months. And if you do this consistently, and this is another thing which, you know, you should worry about and think about. On LinkedIn, you should be consistent. You need to be consistent. So if you are consistent, it gets to a point like a client we've got that sent me an email saying, I can't handle anymore.
Yeah, because there is one of the things people don't get. Like if you pick up a phone and dial, the result is linear.
Yep.
Yeah. In other words, the more you do, the more you get. The percentages kind of come out in the wash and they kind of stay the same. But with social media, the result is compounding. So something you're doing today, you may not see any tangible benefit from, and I'll just be straight with you there, but actually what happens is you start to get I've seen your posts, I've seen your feed recently, and so it builds. And some of the stuff that you do to take action today will actually generate a result in a month's time, 2 months' time. And in fact, one of the big ones I've done recently is somebody's been watching my posts and my content for like 12 months, then comes in and says, yep, ready to buy, this is what I want, there you go, sign up, done. Conversion from content is easy, way easy compared to conversion from cold, but you have to put the work in.
And there's a problem.
Go on.
Because people tend to think that doing a phone call, a cold call, is hard work. So it feels like, you have to dial the number and all of this. On social media, seems like fun. Mm-hmm. It doesn't seem like work.
Well, I think there's a shift in our thinking that comes with when you move beyond the social seller, which is actually, no, I'm a media personality.
That's true.
That means I've got to write magazine articles. I've got to broadcast. I've got to show myself. And when you get over that, when you accept that, suddenly you go, hang on, the more I post, the more I do things, the better it is.
And the thing is, as you shift from analogical to digital selling, which is basically what we're talking about, is that the shift also changes a few other things. The older generation, my generation, they'll think, oh, hang on, this seems too easy. This doesn't seem like work. And they forget something very important. Doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
And the thing is, on this, is that you are now talking to a different generation of leaders in businesses. Mm-hmm. In about 10 years ago, people in C-level positions were late 40s, early 60s. Mm-hmm. Now they are in the early 20s or early 30s. They speak a different language than you do. They react differently probably than you do. So you have to talk their language.
And interestingly, the generations before coming after mine feel far more calls are more intrusive than perhaps I did or you did.
Yeah.
And even now I think, who's this ringing me? So content, let's look at the content piece, because part of this tonight we said profile. So we've just given you one. Change your headline, 20 minutes a day, update your headline with the target audience, problem, result, and go outbound engage on people who are on LinkedIn, posting on LinkedIn, sharing content on LinkedIn, meaningfully engage, and let your headline agitate.
And don't forget, your photo is really important. You are the shop front window of your business. So you need to change that, okay?
Bright, clear, looking cheerful and happy, which is a struggle for me. It took me a long time to get my latest profile picture. I think they had to make me laugh with a joke and capture it at that moment, and they were laughing at me trying to do it. It took about 20 odd takes to get me to smile. Anyway, generating content that attracts and engages your audience. So what does this mean? So just a few minutes ago, I talked about agitation. And actually, when we talk about agitation, for you to sell something, for you to generate a lead, you have to have a curious prospect. You have to have somebody who's curious. A marketing qualified lead, shall we say, is somebody who is expressing interest. It's near impossible to get sales qualified leads from social media. You get a marketing qualified lead, in other words, an expression of interest. You take that to an offline conversation or a video call, and there they become a sales qualified lead. Let's just burst that bubble there, right? marketing qualified leads on social media. They come off into a call, or they come off into an exchange of emails.
And that's to get them across the line.
And that's where they become sales qualified leads. They don't become sales qualified leads unless you're having a DM conversation back and forth about, oh yeah, how much is it? Oh, I'd like that service. If it gets like that, then you've got an SQL. But most people, they got a marketing qualified lead. In other words, they're expressing interest in the solutions to their problem. So again, talking about that agitation and that GADI pitch of target audience, problem, result, one of the things you can do is not every day, but often, maybe twice a week, agitate the problems through your content. In other words, don't talk about how wonderful your service is and how amazing your expertise is and all of the testimonials. By all means do that, but 2 days a week, agitate the problem. Talk about the problems and what that feels like, looks like, smells like to a prospect, and the frustration it causes. The reason being is, and particularly with the visual is the magnet. So if you put up a post, and you'll see this sometimes with my posts, I put in the visual, I put text that say it does what it says on the tin. If you've got this problem, here's the answer. And people are drawn to it. Fair?
I think the big problem is, and I see this in 60 to 70% of posts, people think that the only way to get attention is talk about business, with a very high-toned, geeky language that not even probably the staff of the company understand it. And we get this quite a lot in manufacturing, and we get in technology companies. So take it down a notch. You are talking to normal people. Sometimes the buyer on the other side doesn't even know the thing about it. I still remember the old days when you had a purchasing officer buying software and he knew nothing about the software.
Yeah.
So you're talking to that sort of people. So your language should be a relational language. So instead of doing business posts every single day, do something which we call the content sandwich, which is, for example, on Monday, you do an engagement post.
What's an engagement post?
Good question. So an engagement post can be a number of things. One, it could be about something you did on the weekend. Imagine this is on Monday. Something you did on the weekend with your family. Something you did on the weekend that helped you business-wise. Something that's personal.
Why do we do this? So some people are going, yeah, but I don't want to come across unprofessional. Why would we do a personal post?
You see, that's the other problem we have on LinkedIn, is that people think, and probably they were right 10 years ago, that LinkedIn is a very professional, people with bow ties and dry. It's not. People do business with people, and people have to sense that you're a normal human being, that you're a person they can relate to. So you have to become relational. So by doing this, you're showing people that you're human. You've got likes, you've got things that you enjoy doing, and that is very, very important. So that could be one of the engagement posts.
People love a human story, don't they?
Oh yeah. Look, I remember when you, and that was like 4 years ago, when you posted about Louise is his wife.
She is now.
In the snow. On the snow, falling.
Yeah.
And they got you how many thousands of views?
Oh yeah, so anything a little bit personal. I mean, don't go over the line and go, these are my underpants or something. But do something a bit low key so that people get a flavour of who you are. I don't mean become a performer, and I don't mean go all TikTok on it, but I mean just get your humanity out on one post. That's what we call an engagement post, and that draws a crowd.
Which could also be another engagement post is, for example, going into a news.
So talk about the news thing, and then we'll come to these pain point posts.
Okay. So on the news one, it's an easy one. Go on to, for example, BBC News, into the business section, go on to Sky News, Forbes magazine, CNBC, CNN, and use one of their posts about something they are talking about business. That is an easy one.
That's relevant to your target.
That's relevant to your target.
Not to you, to your target audience.
No, because, for example, that's another risk which we talk quite a lot, which is if, for example, you love cats and you go on to BBC and to Sky News and look anything about cats, After a while, you become known as the cat man or the cat woman. And you don't want that. So what you want is something that's relevant to the day. So it could even be about,
But relevance to the target audience.
to the target audience as well. So when you do that, you get people's attentions and people don't think, hang on, he's always talking about the same stuff.
Let me give you a scenario. If I was selling cybersecurity to retail,
Yeah.
which would I put? A news post about cybersecurity or a news post about retail?
I would put a post about cybersecurity and how it affects retail.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is, if you go onto Google and you put those two titles, you press enter, and then go onto the news feed, you will get about 12 million posts about that theme. So it's easy to find that.
So use content that's relevant to your target audience, and what happens is it draws your target audience. And Vasco, you've seen this. You've seen posts, BBC News posts blow up where you've curated, or a client's curated the news, and it's blown up 85, 90,000 views. And what it does is it acts like a magnet.
It does. And then people enjoy seeing what you write.
Yeah.
So that when you move into what we're going to talk next, people will go, I like this person. I like what he talks about.
Yeah.
It's not just business. He's a normal person like me.
Yeah.
And he talks my language. So that when you go and talk about business and you talk about their pain points, they're going to go, this person speaks my language.
So real simple thing when you're talking about what we call pain point posts, there's a framework you can use where it's called an agitation framework. It's problem, agitate, solution, or solve.
Salt on the wound.
Yeah. And it's a really important way, because for you to sell anything, you need a customer or a prospect who's frustrated. And so we think we have to paint this amazing picture of how wonderful it is, but actually to get people talking to you, you have to agitate their existing challenges. So let's say, for an example, you're talking to a retailer and you help retailers with their profitability, and you start talking about retail inflation, they come to you and pay attention to you, and then you start to talk about the impact inflation is going to have and how you've helped clients fix it. Problem, agitate, solve, or solution. It's called the PASS framework, but it's an agitation method in copywriting. Really simple to use. You can Google it, but it's also in our PDF guide. And it's a very simple framework, so I'll put the slide up for the PDF guide. So if you want a copy of this, just drop us an email, we'll send it to you, because there's only so much we can do in this kind of podcast webinar thing that we do. But agitate people with pain point posts. In other words, you speak to the need. So we have this analogy of, imagine somebody's got a cut knee, and what you're going to do as they browse past, you're going to put salt on it. Yeah, and that's all you do. You talk about the issue, and you talk about the impact the issue has, problem, agitate, and then how you solve it. Not into a big, massive propaganda pitch, but literally just, simple as, retail inflation, inflation's killing the high street. But more than that, I'm seeing how retailers could prevent inflation eating away at their business. Let me give you an example. I worked with this retailer that had 50 stores, explain how it is. If you want to know more, drop me a line. Very, very simple, but you use the engagement post to draw the crowd like a magnet, and then you drop these in.
Yep. And it works every time.
Yeah. Might take you a little while just to get practice to it, but like with anything, you either get good at cold outreach or you get good at agitating through content. It's one or the other. But I've had people DM me straight away off posts. I've had people come back to me a couple of days later and say that post's been lingering with me. But the simple principle is you put salt in the wound and they go, oh, you've just hit the nail on the head, Dean. Can we talk?
Yep. And then the thing is that if you really think about what you're going to talk about, it's going to help you, sort of do a proper post that talks to people's pains and tells people what your solution is.
Yeah. People don't buy anything if they're not in pain.
No.
If there's no discomfort, they're not going to buy anything.
Take the car. You sort of go, I need to change that tire. I need to change that tire. And then one day you wake up in the morning, go to your car, and you got a flat. And then I'm going to change that. In fact, you'll change the 4 of them. Pain moves you to do things that you never thought would move you.
Let's just do, I don't know whether you want to participate in this survey, but I'll ask the question and see how people respond. How many of you have got a task list that's really long, far too long to ever finish in the time you've got to allot? How many of you have got that? Let's be honest, we've got that, right? You triage. We all do this. We triage our task lists. So at home, there's a jobs list that I've got to do, and I triage them based on my time and my motivation. And you do the same. And when something becomes a crisis, you dive all over it, but you think to yourself, I should have dealt with that months ago. Part of what you're doing with your content is actually helping people triage, yeah? So just think about that. It's a real simple concept, and it's so simple people underestimate its power, because for you to make a sale, you just have to convince a human being that they need you. That's it. So LinkedIn's this clever technology platform, social media and all this, but all it is you trying to convince a profile, a person, that they need your help. That's it. And one of the biggest misunderstood things about sales marketing is if you help people understand their problem and see how painful it really is, you are elevated in their minds as an expert because you help them see something that was in front of them. You help them see the obvious. And sometimes we miss this. I've got another tip for you in a minute on messaging. But sometimes we miss this. We miss the fact that if you help people see what you think is obvious, but it's a blind spot to them, you gain a lot of expertise and credibility with them.
And you create a relationship as well.
Yeah, because you know, I had somebody post about me on LinkedIn the other day, and they said something crazy. I couldn't believe what they said, but Dean helped me and change my career. And I'm like, what did I do? What did I do?
That one.
And the guy had just been following my posts and implementing what I say on my posts. And he said it's totally changed his career. Sometimes, and I'm not trying to big myself up, but I'll take the credit from it. Sometimes we miss the point that giving people that light bulb moment to see the obvious, you know, is really powerful in terms of establishing us as the go-to person for them on that subject matter. So there's a couple of more things I want to talk to you about with messaging. And I'm going to kind of give you a very counter-intuitive approach to messaging that I think is obvious, but you may not. So maybe we can do this. If you're on a mobile, don't do this. But if you're on a desktop, maybe, I shouldn't say this really, go to another tab. I should say, no, focus on me, focus on. If you go and look in your LinkedIn message box and look at the messages you get, right? Do they look like emails?
They do.
They do, don't they?
They do. And they even sign off.
So the golden lesson of selling is you've got to build rapport with customers and prospects as fast as possible. Relationship.
Yeah.
So why, when we message people, do we add formality?
No, and the other thing is, if you're creating a relationship, imagine you're talking to your best friend, okay?
Hi, Vasco. Dear Vasco.
Dear Vasco. And then you write it like an email and you say, best regards. You don't do that.
It's weird.
It is.
So
it looks just like an email.
Let's just play this out, and hopefully you get where I'm going here, because if you get this, it will change the way you outreach. Vasco, I message Vasco because I need a favor. Vasco, I need a favor. Right? I wouldn't say, dear Vasco. I'd say, Vasco, can I ask you a favor? And Vasco, what is it?
What is it?
Yeah, and then I'd tell him what it is.
And I wouldn't sign off.
Right? He wouldn't say, kind regards, Vasco. He'd just reply. And so what happens is me and Vasco end up in a back and forth conversation that's casual, relaxed, it's informal, but it's not kind of, hey, dude, how are you? Because that's not what I would say.
This is like, you know, a pub talk or cafe talk.
Yeah.
Where you sit next to a person which you've known for a while and you have a normal conversation about something, you know, about, for example, what's happening tonight.
Yeah, I'm so curious to know what's going on right now.
So the thing is, it's a not normal, friendly conversation. Now, one thing that we have to remind people is that when you do this, there's other things behind that you need to do, which is you need to have the proper profile, which we spoke about, but also you need to post so that people see you, so you're not sort of jumping out of the blue.
So here's a little tip. I'm going to give you a very practical tip. Let's say you've got a prospect on LinkedIn, and I don't have time to go into our whole social selling methodology in the next 20 minutes. But suffice to say, we've landed major clients, 4 clients, using a very simple human methodology. I believe in, if you understand humans, you can sell on any platform, you can market yourself on any platform, it doesn't matter if you understand humans. So here's the tip, right? This is real simple. Find some prospects that are active on LinkedIn. Don't go and find people you want to sell to and then go, I'll go and hit them up on LinkedIn, especially if they're not active. We call that checking your breadcrumbs. Look at the social activity of the people to see who you can get to. But let's say, for an example, you've got 10, 15 people. Here's what I want you to do. I'm going to give you exactly what to do. Find 10, 15 people where there's at least 3 or 4 posts in the last month, the last 30 days, 3 or 4 posts. It does not matter what they are. It doesn't matter what they are. Just find them. And don't do this all in one day. Spread it out over a couple of days, but be systematic in it. So don't go, oh, I'm going to do it tomorrow, and then forget about it for a week. Do it over a series, do it over a week and a half, this whole process over a week and a half or less.
It's not like every 2 days.
Yeah, so every 2 days. So tomorrow, go and like and comment on something that they've posted, but the oldest.
And tag the person.
And tag the person. Oldest. Go do that, number 1. And comment something meaningful. And if you're struggling to comment something meaningful, try harder. Yeah, you will get this. If you don't know how to comment and learn to comment, to engage people, you will by doing this exercise. One of the things that we teach, we've put hundreds of salespeople, hundreds of solopreneurs, maybe thousands, through this process, because if you don't know how to have digital small talk, yeah, imagine a salesperson in real life, in physical life, and they don't know how to have small talk. It would be the most flipping awkward sales meeting you've ever had.
No, it'll be just sales and it'll be a yes or no.
The decision maker would come off, this is weird or frosty, I'm not sure it's right. So number 1, go like and comment on the oldest thing you can find in the last month and write something and tag them, right? If you get stuck with this, DM me and we'll give you some more tips. And again, this is in the book, so you can go and get this from the book. Wait a couple of days, go and do it again and send them a connection request. Dead simple, right? When they accept, just say thank you, hope all's good with you, Tim. Done. Done. Then go again, engage again, and then wait a couple of days, go again, engage again. Then we come to the final bit. Just go and send them a message along the lines of, Tim, can I ask you a quick question? And they say, yeah, sure, or no. Use that conversation like it's Dean and Vasco. Yeah. Make that conversation like it's you and a family member who you don't see very often. It's warm, it's familiar, it's informal, but it's not familiar like best mates. So if you do that process, you'll find you'll have more success. Now, if they're a bit senior, a bit more CEO, a bit more global business, you might have to work a little bit longer. But I've used that simple methodology to literally land corporate multinational clients, for clients and with clients, and I've used it myself. Just a simple methodology. But here's the point I'm making with the messaging. Don't create formality. Write that down. Don't create formality. Don't go all surfer dude either. Hey man, how you doing? Because when people do that to me, I'm like, really? Do you even talk like I'm British? I'm slightly grumpy British. And it's like, really? So I will respond better to very casual, relaxed conversations than I will to formal or familiar.
But also, don't underestimate what you can do, and don't overthink.
Yeah, don't overthink it. One of the biggest things people do is they go, oh, I've got to get this in, I've got this in, I've got this in. Don't, fascinating thing, if you give people too much information, they don't do anything with it.
And they make a decision straight away.
So the simplest thing you can do is create a back and forth, and your job is not to give them the justification for the meeting. Your job is to get them curious for a meeting.
And they'll look forward to it.
Did you get that? Did you get that? Your job is not to give them the information to justify a meeting. Your job is to get them curious for a meeting. In other words, this could be interesting. I need to know more. Yeah, let's have a call. Look at your messages you get. It's people trying to convince you that they're so amazing and so good, they should have a call. If your profile stacks up, 62% of people will vet you via your profile. If your profile stacks up, you look credible. You don't look like your profile was invented yesterday. You look like you've got a backstory. You're posting content. You look like a reasonable human being. People will respond to that message and go, yeah, I'm interested, I'm curious. And that's all you've got to do. Get people curious to want to know more. MQL, that's what the call's for.
And that's why it also becomes important for the people you're connected to, because then you're talking to the people that are within the right criteria of people wanting your service or your product. Mm-hmm. So if it's that, you're not selling a second-hand car. You are talking to someone that really might need or really needs your service.
I mean, I'll give you an example. I had an informal chat with somebody on LinkedIn this afternoon. I'd engaged with their posts a few times. I think they'd engaged with me once or twice. Never met, no previous contact. And I just said, hey, I'd love to put something in front of you and put it on your radar if you're looking at this stuff. Well, yeah, I'm kind of at the moment. What are you thinking? And it was just a real low-key conversation. We've got dates planned for the call. It'll be really low-key, really relational. They're curious to know about how we're doing it, curious to learn if there's a better way. That's the setup for the call. Not me giving them a 10-point bullet point, look how amazing we are, this is what we've done. Yeah, that's the simple stuff. Ryan, I really appreciate that you got value from this, because sometimes exactly what I'm saying to you, we don't know what you know. So I could go way deeper into this, but one of the challenges is we've got people from all different kind of experience levels here. Yeah. So think of it like this. I'm gonna leave you. The profile is how people vet you. So everything you do, people vet you by your profile. So you've got to have that in order. If you want to get leads, use the headline, go comment on your target audience, and you'll get a drip of leads every week. And that might be enough if you're a solopreneur. If you want to get leads from content, you need to know how to agitate. So agitation becomes really important. Speaking to the pain point posts, as we would talk about it. And then messaging, you want to make it as natural. We always say WhatsApp, not email. WhatsApp, not email. And follow those steps that I said earlier. We call them the 7 steps. It's a real simple process. And again, don't create formality. Don't create formality, informal. Oh, it's warm in here.
It is, I'm sweating. The other interesting thing is, if you are having problems on sort of trying to implement everything we spoke about today, or some of the things just went by and, you forgot them already, ping us an email to I@Maverick.
Yeah, I should say.
And we are more than happy to jump on a call to talk to you.
There's the PDF book, which you can get a copy of. It's coming on screen, hopefully. Get a copy of that for free. But if you're like, I really want to do this, but I'm stuck a little bit, drop an email to us and say, hey, can you help me out? One of our guys, we've got 9, 10 LinkedIn coaches here, something like that. 9 or 10 who could coach, 9 or 10. LinkedIn coaches who can basically do LinkedIn selling every day, every single day. They'll jump on a call with you and they coach clients, so enterprise level clients, small business clients, they do that all day long. They'll jump on. Of course, we'll tell you about what we do, but actually we'll give you the answer. So we have this theory, and I'll just leave this with you as a theory. We have this theory, and I tell all my clients to think about it in this way. There's people who DIY. In other words, there's people who will want to do it themselves. There's no amount of sales pitch that you can convince somebody who's going to DIY it to buy from you. So don't try. The best you can do for DIY people is add so much value, they become your champions. They like and comment on your posts. They follow you. They support when you post. Those are the champions for you because you help them, you add value, they remember it and reward you in that way. So that's how I think about it. Some of you watching this are going, I'm going to do this myself. I don't need to buy anything from Maverick. So if you go on a coaching call from us, that's what we'll do. We'll help you.
And there's an interesting question from Ad.
I will in a second. So I'll come back to the questions here. So that's the first thing. The second one is the triers. They're the people who will come DIY, try and DIY it, get stuck, come back and buy something. And then there's the third group, the buyers, and they're the people waiting in the wings and just swoop in because they're watching your content, they're watching what you do and go, I'm ready, I trust you, I'm in. So we believe in this theory. We believe in this principle of DIYers, triers and buyers. So that's why we'll offer a lot of stuff for free. Some people will get value, go do it, and we get the buzz and the engagement and the visibility from that. Some people will go try it, get stuck and come back, and some people will just swoop in and buy it. And that's how we run. So we got some questions here. Can you talk a minute over cold emailing? Right, cold emailing, there's a perception that some people would say I'm against cold email. I'm not against it. The challenge is we all have tons of emails, far more than we can read. So it's very difficult. So the industry stats at the moment, the industry stat is it's 3% email to lead. So if you send 4 emails to a prospect, 4 emails, so a sequence of 4, and you send that to 100 people, you'll get 3 leads. Now, what the conversion rate of those 3 leads is another question, but that's the industry stat. So the only way cold emailing works is obviously, if you think about it, there's the stages. You've got to get your email delivered. So delivery becomes a problem if you do it in volume. Deliverability becomes a major problem. Because if you try and amp up the volume, you will get spam filters, junk filters, promo filters, all that stuff. So that becomes a problem, deliverability. As the projects we've worked on projects where some of our clients have sent millions of emails, millions. So deliverability becomes a major issue. If you overcome that hurdle and continue to overcome that hurdle, and I'm by no means an email expert, but I talk to some email experts on a regular basis, and they tell me that if you send more than 2,000 emails that look pretty much identical, people like Google, not so much Outlook, but Google will start to pick up on it pretty fast. So 2,000 emails, yeah, so you work on that basis. Okay, if I have to send 4 emails to 100 people to get 3 leads, which might convert, might not convert, you've got to do volume to make it work. So you've got the deliverability. The next thing is obviously the subject line. You've got to get the subject line to get it opened, get it seen, and avoid getting put into junk or promo because of your subject line and the freight, what's wordings in the subject line. So there's an open rate you've got to overcome. Then you've got the subject of the email. And I had one today from somebody and it made no sense. There was no context, no reason to go on a call. It wasn't relevant. So then the other problem becomes, okay, how do you do a relevant email at scale? And a lot of the data that's coming for cold email is scraped. And so a lot of the times I can tell automated emails, and so can you, by the way, we can all tell when we get an automated email, because the sentence structure, the way it's written all becomes a bit generic.
And also, I don't know if this has happened to you, you get 3 different emails from 3 different people, but the text is practically the same.
So the best way to do cold emailing, if you're going to do it, the best way is what I call hyper-personalized. And I don't mean the GIF images with people holding a cup going, hey, that's flipping weird. I mean, when did we descend to weirdness? The simple way to do it is, and I've done this and I do this, is if I see a company I can add value to, I'll go do some research, I'll find out who the right person is, and I'll write an email for them, specifically for them. And that's got me business, consistently got me business. And out of, say, 100 emails, we'll get maybe 5 or 6 clients. But that's a lot of manual work, but it performs better. So you have to kind of wade up with cold email.
But if you're dealing with big companies, that's worth it.
Yeah, is it about volume or is it about result? Is it efficiency of your time or efficiency of outcome?
So we go to the same thing, quality versus quantity.
Could you give an example of offering a software solution, e.g. providing developers or creating solutions for minimum viable products? So Ryan, I'm going to do this on the fly. So I would be looking for an example, on LinkedIn Sales Navigator, you can do a search for companies who are of a certain size who've recently got seed funding. So I don't know whether you know you can do this on Sales Navigator, but you can. We've got a training course on our website you can kind of get access to with the message templates and frameworks and everything. But you can go in there and I target the companies where they've got seed funding, but they're still really small, and go, look, spotted you've got seed funding. You can go onto Crunchbase, is it Crunchbase? And Crunchbase will alert you to all the companies that are getting seed funding, and then you can outreach more meaningfully and say, hey, spotted you got this funding. What's your plan for your MVP for your product? That's how I would do it. So I know that's a kind of very simplistic answer, but that's what I do. Sales Navigator, find the seed funded companies at a small scale, small size headcount, find them. It updates regularly, engage with them, outreach to them, but have a very, very specific outreach method. So you could do like a PowerPoint, a little PowerPoint, but personalize it, for an example. Don't send it in InMail, though. PowerPoints and PDFs in InMails don't get opened. So what I'd do is probably have a dual strategy where I would drop them a message and say, hey, I spotted you got funding on what have you. I'm just going to ping you an email because I had some ideas for your MVP. I'm going to ping them through to this email and send it through. So hyper personalized, because it's worth your while to be involved. If you're selling something that's going to be 5, 10, 50, 100, the big one was £1 million, it's worth putting the effort in. So Sales Navigator will give you the search. Crunchbase will do it too. Go back then and have a meaningful encounter with them, meaningful engagement, do the 7 steps, but then maybe make a deck and send it to them.
Ryan? Oh, okay.
So Ryan, it's really simple. Go to Sales Navigator, go to accounts, and then there's activities, I think, or recent events, and you click it, and it's got funding events, and you just click it. But what I would do is make sure you get people at the early stage, so small head count, so 1 to 10, 11 to 50 maybe, and do it that way. The other thing you could do, Ryan, just throwing something out, and this is a real clever spin, and some of you will get really excited about this, is let's say, for an example, you're looking for these companies. One of the things you can do is look for people hiring app developers or particular types of developers as LinkedIn jobs, and look for the companies that are hiring as small scale and have keywords startup and app or fintech or something like that. Find those jobs and then reverse engineer the decision maker and do it that way.
Ooh. And if you want more information,
do you know what? It's almost like we know what we're doing with this, right?
Yeah. And if you have more information, ping us an email. We are more than happy to jump onto a call. And some of you probably are there thinking, I've got a sales problem. I haven't filled my sales pipeline. My sales team is still analogical. I need to get them into digital, into social selling. How do I do this? Talk to us. We are more than happy to jump on a call.
Can I just say, I know you can't see this here, but we've got 2 huge, massive lamps over our heads, and it's absolutely roasting here.
It's like 2 suns.
So, any more questions? I'll just leave you with the PDF thing again. So if you want a copy of it, we can't get it to you tonight because we're depending on where you're watching. Obviously, this is live in the UK, so it's 8 o'clock in the evening. I want to go home after this. See if we've got a government. So tomorrow we'll come back and we'll send the PDF to everybody. So I'll put it on screen now.
There you go.
Any questions, dude? I'll hang on for a minute. I'll do the auction. Going once, going twice. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate DIYers out there. If you've got value from this, the only thing we ask is go tell other people about it. Come find us, follow, hit the bell, all that wonderful stuff. But go do something with it, because the stuff we're giving you here can change things really quickly. If you're struggling with LinkedIn, it can change things really quickly. If you just implement a system and perfect one simple system, you can scale with it. So thank you so much for joining us. We're back next week. I've got a session every week for the next few weeks until I go away at the end of July for our well-earned holiday. So thanks for joining us. See you next week for another session that will help you grow your business and scale.
Have fun.
Last year, Maverick has helped generate more than 15 million in new business. The biggest reason for this is our 90-day training and implementation platform we call the Accelerator program, where we teach your team to sell on social media with an implement-as-you-go strategy. It's not a pre-recorded course, it's hands-on sales training that develops and grows with you, with 90 days of real action that generates business and long-term revenue. So who is it for? This program is for entrepreneurs, marketing and sales professionals who want to sell without ads, cold calling, or pushy tactics. A better way of selling with real steps to take, which speeds up your sales process without burning any bridges. These are just a few examples of results our members have achieved using the Accelerator. As you can see, the Accelerator isn't about quick wins, it's about building a better sales process. If you'd like to learn more, just book a call with the Maverick team and we'll show you how the Accelerator program can win you new business.